No heat, no masks. Minotaurs, Juggernaughts here. Game 2. I think Minotaurs in minute 10 of that game went, all right.
I think in when they loaded into the game,
yeah,
Minotaurs realized what was about to happen and still tried to battle against all odds. I do feel like this might be a little bit more of a conventional draft coming out of the Minotaurs second time around. This is a best of 3, so if you are going to take those crazy opportunities like Khepri ADC, first game's probably the time to do it.
How does Venenu play with this keyboard light show going on? That's a keyboard I would expect Anatoly to be using. But Venenu, I mean, how do you not get distracted by that?
It's not very distracting. You'd be surprised. Because you don't really look down. Like, you know where your hands are on the
But
keys.
peripherals, right? Or peripheral vision, that's the word.
Yeah, and your peripheral vision is
you
just
see
like,
your
wow,
peripherals.
this looks really cool.
You see your peripherals with your peripheral.
How can you say anything about heat when you just made that statement?
Because that statement was awesome. Baron Samedi going to be banned out here again. He's pretty awesome. I wonder if we'll get to see him played. Do you think he's 100% banned?
I feel like this ban is only happening because Juggernaughts actually don't want to let Hurriwind play Baron. They just don't want Hurriwind, their own teammate, picking the god on their team. That's the way that I view it. Just remember what Mike said during the entirety of the pre-game show and the like, and all those instances where you just don't want to see Hurriwind on a god that is not very mobile.
The mouse does it too.
There's just full levels of fascination.
I'm distracted.
Right
That's what I'm saying. There's just so many lights.
Yeah, well, maybe he's trying to distract the competition.
They can't.
Did you ever think about that?
They can't see it. There's
How do you know
a
they don't
wall.
see it with their peripheral vision?
Because there's a wall there, Taco.
I don't know. I've seen some things.
Athena and Zhang Kui. Zhang Kui, always a strong pick. Naja, it's interesting. I don't necessarily call Naja a counter to Zhang Kui, but Naja certainly works hard against Zhang Kui when he ults. Naja can ult, take him away. Arkkyl with the new hair and the classic watch, complimented on it earlier. It's one of the old Casio series. I have a silver one I wear from time to time on the broadcast. He's got the gold one, looks good, matches his hair. You think he could be James Bond, Taco? I was talking about this in the studio before. Could Arkkyl be James Bond?
I don't think so.
He's kind of like the transition. Like he's in between traditional. He's in between traditional
I'm
and
with
James.
production. No. I'm with production on this one. He looks like a Bond villain.
He looks like a Bond villain. That's what
I can
people
see him as
say.
a Bond villain.
Yeah, I could definitely see him as a.
Especially since he already has like the perfect French accent because he is French.
Yes, that's why.
Like you'd expect him to almost be a villain.
I can see him being a villain in like the Hit USA series Burn Notice.
He's kind of like the villain of this set when you really think about it, because he was the one who said that Snoopy was GG Freelo.
That is true.
And Snoopy was like, I hope we're all having a family-friendly game, gamers.
And Uller not going to be family-friendly, not in the hands of this guy. Although new Freya coming out from Minotaurs. Not sure if that's going to be in the Hunter role, but most likely. I don't really think we're going to see a solo Freya. So it's probably going to be Uller versus Freya. Arkkyl the Trevelyan guy here.
And that'd be a bit of a complicated matchup, though, for the Freya, because while she can deal a ton of damage, and don't get me wrong, it's a lot of damage.
Yeah, it is.
You still need to make it through that first little bit of the laning phase. So I'm really looking towards Aror on this one to kind of step it up with a high clearing support. They're going to need that level of pressure if they want to ensure that this Freya has a chance to make it out of the laning phase, and really just looking towards levels 1 through 4 here, where the Uller can probably bully best.
Yeah, the Ares ban is interesting because Ares has traditionally low clear, but Ares and Freya might just kill you early game, right?
You just don't want to take any chances with Aror. I think there are just certain players in competitive who are known for their signature gods.
For sure.
And Ares, the first couple of people who come to mind, is always going to be Kallus and Aror.
Yeah, without a doubt. I mean, Aurora is Ares. He pulled off the Athena pull.
He did pull off the Athena.
That's fun. You know, let's be real. It's not that difficult, but we just rarely get to see that opportunity come through. So
this hardly ever happens. Man.
Yeah.
It's not every day you get to really see Ares. I should.
That's fair too.
Probably clarify on. He's just not typically the most heavily prioritized god, but that's kind of the beauty in these sort of show matches, because while there is a lot of fun still happening behind the scenes here for the guys, they are taking this relatively seriously, and I think that these token ban-outs are almost always the calling cards of being able to help distinguish which direction their drafts are trying to head in. And Ares, I think, would also be very limiting against an Ullr-Athena dual lane if this is going to be the hard body lock duo. This could potentially be Hurriwind on the Ullr in the mid lane and Zhonghui over in solo instead for variety. You never really know. And that's also something really nice that the Juggernaughts have going for them, is that they have that level of ambiguity.
Yeah, I mean, Athena can play 4 positions, 5 if you ask Kiki, right? Zhonghui can play 2 positions, right? Ullr can play a whole bunch. So there's a lot of ambiguity on this side. And yeah, Hurriwind, it wouldn't surprise me to see Hurriwind play Zhang or Ullr.
This should be fun.
Could you see Hurriwind playing Athena mid?
No, but I can see him playing Neath, and I think that that's going to be the direction Juggernaughts want to head in. I really like this so far, though, I thought, because there's a healthy amount of crowd control, also a decent amount of front line being provided there because of the Zhonghui still having all those protections, especially in that ultimate whenever he's releasing the demons, and that's just not going to be any fun for Minotaurs to deal with when they're really just doubling down on damage.
Minotaurs going Kumbhakarna and Cerberus. Ton of chunky power right there. Serb and Kumbhakarna. Serb probably going to be the support. Kumbhakarna over there on the short side. Freya, Hunter, and Thoth mid. Naja in the jungle. Minotaurs have a very, very strong team right here.
I almost want to wonder what it might be like if it was a Naja as the ADC and Freya in the jungle.
I was also thinking that as well.
There hasn't been as much experimentation so far yet, especially with the recent rework to Freya. A lot of people still, I think, trying to gauge where exactly she stands in the current meta, because while she feels particularly powerful, you still have to keep in mind that her early phases are always going to be the most punishable, and the Juggernauts trying to match some of that late game potential that the Minotaurs have, just in case, by bringing out the Ao Kuang.
Yeah, this guy's going to be able to gobble players up. Not a bad look. And Ao Kuang, I think, got better as soon as Season 5 turned because of how hard it is to invade speed buff comparatively to last year. Naja, of course, this is not the patch that we just showed on Friday, so his passive still pretty out of control here. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm interested to see Freya in the jungle, Naja in the hunter role. I don't think that's what's going to happen here, but I kind of want it to be.
It's unlikely, but we always want to assume that maybe that 5% chance actually ends up paying off.
Fighting against the Ullr-Athena is going to be, yeesh, I don't know.
You don't fight that, though. That's the key here, is that I would imagine Minotaurs are probably going to try and just focus on securing their first cycle of the purple and red buffs, at least off of the initial spawn. If they can maintain control of their jungle early on, then that's going to be able to prevent a lot of that invade potential from Juggernauts by just showing face, because Thoth also maybe not the best assistance that you're looking for, but the Naja, if this is a Naja in the jungle, that's going to be their best outplay opportunity on securing their own farm.
Yeah, certainly something to think about there, but I mean, with respect to that, Ullr-Athena, this is Arkkyl and PolarBearMike, they're just going to jump on you.
They're going to try to. I would not be surprised in the slightest to see PBM just looking for the dash taunt off cooldown.
Yeah, certainly could be what's going to happen. Juggernauts, Minotaurs, who's going to win? Let us know in Mixer chat, and we'll show you with Finch and Aggro holding the game.
Minotaurs up against Juggernauts, game number 2, and at least this time, it appears that everything's a little bit more normal. Snoopy not on the Kefri this time, instead going to be riding that Freya. A lot of strong picks here available for those Minotaurs here, Ryan. I mean, what do we need to follow along with? What's the thread for this game?
I think it's going to be Snoopy versus Arkkyl, and this new Freya up against this Ullr for Arkkyl. I was wondering where they were going to put both of these hunters, because either one can really go in the mid lane and be very effective in that spot. So I was very curious, and going with the Ullr in the duo lane tells me that PBM and Arkkyl are trying to be very aggressive against Snoopy. in the early stages. If you would have put Ullr in the mid, then Hurriwind's trying to make some plays, but I think that this is my preferred way that they could have made this composition work, because trying to put this Freya behind is going to be very critical.
I think so, and you just can't allow Snoopy to be in a comfortable position on this, much like the way we talked about Deathwalker on the Hell last game, and even though it didn't come to that, it kind of feels similar here, where you just don't want to allow this Freya to farm too comfortably, because at a certain point it's tough to have an answer to her. But again, I mean, she's gone through some, some changes here now. We're seeing Freya a little bit differently, able to sort of toggle instead of the cooldown on these ranged autos, and already we're seeing their potency as the horrific emblem comes out.
Oh, Snoopy's gonna get that extra damage. Good body block by Aror, and that's first blood for the Minotaurs. Snoopy could still be in trouble, but gets that pulse back and might be able to kill Arkkyl here, and indeed he will. It's a double for Aror. Minotaurs duo lane. Turns out that not two Guardians is pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that we're seeing what the biggest difference, I feel like, with her changes is that perfect evade and punish into the sash. It just turns out they were the ones that got punished. Twig takes a bunch of poke from minions and from Hurriwind, but I mean, being able to shoot it through the minions, I feel like it's so much better for them. It really turned that around, as now they're going in to try and take away this red buff, but the entire squad of Juggernaughts is here, and Snoopy will pay with his life.
Yeah, that's just that extra clear power that Neith brings in the mid lane. It's something she brings to the team composition that you gotta really account for. You're not going to be able to out-clear her, even with Thoth, who can have pretty decent clear in the early game once he gets his 3 with Mage's Blessing, though Venenu hasn't gone for Mage's Blessing. Instead trying to rush that Book of Thoth. So he's really going to be out-pressured in the early game, and I don't think Minotaurs really took that into consideration.
Yeah, this Book of Thoth has been highly valued, hasn't it? I think we saw 2 of them in Game 1. We got 2 here now as well. It makes some sense on Snoopy on this Freya to try and give her a little bit of extra in that mana pool, because she can have some mana concerns a little bit as well, and Venenu feeling similarly, but now that it's been changed, it's definitely seeming a little bit more desirable from our pros.
It was just, we saw it in lane there. I mean, Snoopy goes literally out of mana off the first wave, because he's consistently shooting off those ranged auto attacks, but when you turn those off and start getting into melee range, you really chunk up your mana really, really quickly, because she gets mana return on melee auto attacks. So even though it looks pretty crazy for Snoopy's mana bar to be all over the place, that's how this character plays these days, and you got to learn to play around that and manage your mana bar pretty well, and it's one of the challenges, I think, of new Freya.
And the zone attempt coming out now from Snoopy and Aror. Arkkyl going to catch that Cerberus damage, gets brought down to about half HP, and Snoopy hasn't had to do much yet at all, except for kind of just let these minions die and force them off the wave. This pressure that they've gotten early on, they're holding on to it, and they're trying to punish Arkkyl in particular, still level 2.
And the fact that Snoopy died on that red is unfortunate, but honestly, Aror getting the buff itself, that red buff, is pretty good, because Cerberus does a lot of damage.
He does.
He already got the double kill, so he's the highest level in this duo lane by far at this point.
Stunned.
Big chunk there onto Arkkyl.
And they find the banish on the back end. Shell has to come out from PBM yet again just to get Arkkyl out of that, with really nothing committed from Aror and Snoopy. They still have their own horrific emblem, but there's not anything up in the jungle just yet. They're going to meet up with Twig and Venenu for this red buff steal, and this time it's going to go very, very well, as Hurriwind wasn't around and they were able to zone out Scream.
The fact that they pulled the shell out for PBM in that spot, pretty critical, but Arkkyl could be in some trouble here. No relic to help him.
Horrific emblem's going to be the call. Beads allows him to jump out, but they catch him with the banish. Hurriwind does a good job dropping the arrow, but it's not enough anyway. Paralyzing Spit sets up another kill for Aror, 3-0-0.
Scream got hit by that Windfire wheels in mid. Final Judgment was there, but not necessary, as Twig gets the kill onto Scream. Beads were used by Scream there too. It's a really good start for the Minotaurs. The duo lane being behind. When you're behind as Ullr, it feels really, really rough. I think Cerberus Freya is a great lane combination, because not only does Cerberus help out with that clear in the early game, where honestly Freya is very strong right now anyways, so you get excellent clear potential, but he also has that magical protection shred on his Ghastly Breath that Freya can very easily take advantage of.
Yeah, this is a real problem for Juggernaut, I feel like, because you're definitely gonna want a Freya over an Ullr once they start grouping up and team fighting, right? The reason that you want this Ullr is because he can be so strong in lane. I mean, the bladed arrow and then hail of arrow, or the axe, I mean, into the blade arrow, hail of arrow combo can be so potent early on, and really can feel like you can't even walk up to an Ullr without that threat, that lane bully presence. I feel like you're not getting almost anything at all out of this Ullr pick as opposed to any other hunter.
You still get a little bit of life steal from Freya as well, so I mean it really is the poke isn't as scary because you can heal it up yourself. As Deathwalker a little bit of trouble over here, does have his ultimate for CC immunity in case Scream tries to go for that execute.
Variety does want to come in and continue to look for this blue buff invade because he can still recall those demons. Venenu's going to come in and keep Scream from joining in the fray, and even going to perfectly reposition blue buff, consider it defended and the ultimate expended from Variety. Well done there from Minotaurs to keep that standing.
Hurriwind used his ultimate in that spot as well on the Deathwalker, so that World Weaver being down does lessen Scream's kill potential by quite a bit. Hurriwind on this Neath has to be careful of his backflips because it puts him in a bad spot a lot of the time. Final Judgment was on point there from Venenu, and that's why you don't see a lot of Neath in competitive play, because she can be slow to escape, mostly in that spot because Hurriwind decided to go for Transcendence finish instead of building into his boots. It was really his lack of movement speed that made him pay there, especially when you look across the way at CaptainTwig having the extra movement speed from his boots choice.
Deathwalker is about to transform, but doesn't matter. PolarBearMike gets the kill, but up into the air goes Scream anyway on the Ao Kuang, so excellently played to catch out that solo laner. But, I mean, to go back to that play with Hurriwind, you're exactly right. I mean, that is Neath's big vulnerability. But Twig also played it about as well as you can, right? I mean, the sash, I feels like was max range. He even kind of body blocked for a little bit to slow Hurriwind down. Just really well played from Twig as well to max punish, and they get PolarBearMike to try and commit the Defender of Olympus, and even that doesn't save him.
Unfortunate there for Scream, though, in the next kill onto Deathwalker, that he doesn't get the passive stack, as Hurry doesn't have beads in this spot, so he'll immediately eat that ultimate. Aror doesn't use Stygian Torment right away. Venenu will pick up one. Now he'll pull PBM back in and put him into a bad spot. Has the dash available, dashes the wrong way, just trying to buy some extra time. Scream can't get in there and finish off a half-health Venenu. 7 kills already for the Minotaurs.
They've gotten off to such a better start this game, haven't they? And this is kind of what they wanted to happen last game with that Ares and with the Khepri, was to have some duo lane pressure and to kind of open up the rest of the map like we're seeing happen here now for Juggernaughts. But it did not work. In fact, it was Juggernaughts who were aggressing into their jungle in game 1, and this time it feels like the exact inverse in Minotaurs' favor. They've got 2,000 experience, 2,200 gold, and looks like World Weaver just committed there from Hurriwind. Couldn't find the kill, though.
Did chase out that Valkyrie's Discretion, though, from Freya, which is a huge cooldown for her. Twig doesn't have ultimate. He'll get taunted. Beads are good. Scream takes a ton of damage, but he's right on top of Twig here with Defender of Olympus. Scream's beads expended. Is CaptainTwig might just get out of here.
PolarBearMike is going to try and keep up the chase for him, but Aror is right there behind. And Aror is really the reason that fight was not worse for CaptainTwig, as Variety in danger of getting soloed and certainly will end up falling to Deathwalker. Now PBM is too far forward with the rotation from Venenu. Final Judgment point blank hits both, because of course it does, and sends Hurriwind back to tower.
Van feeling it right now on this Thoth. After that little bit of rough game 1 performance on the Artemis, certainly turning it around here with the more traditional mid laner. Scream, no beads, stealthed, and just sneaks through the 2 members of the Minotaurs.
Arkkyl, though, still has plenty of damage, turns it around onto Aror, but he catches the stun and realizes quickly he can't stick around. Scream gets chunked, Snoopy doing way too much, and Venenu gets the kill. Variety wants to come in with the 2-man stun, but can they really turn this one around?
Snoopy's very low, doesn't have his ultimate quite yet. Good heal, Hurriwind does put him down with that World Weaver, then slowed, and Deathwalker's here on a great rotation. Variety still gets that kill, but Death might clean up.
He definitely has a chance. He's already dropped the War Cry, but Aror comes in, Stygian Torment to control and reposition, and of course Deathwalker's right there. Aror takes down Variety. PolarBearMike now running for his life, but Deathwalker has the Salmon Leap, has the Barb Spear, but can't land it, but the sash is there. Twig gets the killing spree. Just
a little bit too long on both sides in that part. I mean, both teams end up staying a little bit longer than they would have liked.
Twig has had the kind of game where he can go for that, though. He's been on fire.
That's one where you expect that the enemy is going to see you coming and try and stop their bat, move at the last second, but if they move even an inch, that stops their back, and then you can hit them with the ultimate, and then you feel really good, and everyone thinks you're really awesome, and everyone's like, oh, Twig, you're so good, and you get a bunch of tweets, and you feel really good about yourself, but you didn't, so you won't, so you can't.
Yeah, do you like measure yourself on tweets? Is that like part of it?
Not me.
No, not you. You know you're sick either way. Okay.
Yeah. Please, if I was at the mercy of Twitter for my self-confidence, I wouldn't. I'd be crying in the corner every day.
You're definitely in a rough spot. Twitter can be rough out there, man. But Aror can be rough if you're on the side of the Juggernaughts. He's played very well for them on this Cerberus. 4-0-5. He's had such an impact for them, and not just in the early game damage he can bring, but the paralyzing spit stuns, the Stygian torments as well. That fight in mid when Deathwalker rotates over, yes, he does a lot of damage, but everyone's at tier 2, they get out. Auror's the one that repositions.
Also, great presence of mind by Venenu to run towards Deathwalker in that spot.
Yes.
So whether that's Deathwalker saying, come to me or what, that was really good communication. Scream in stealth and does manage to escape yet again. Deathwalker's been handling 2 meanwhile by the blue buff, and handle them he will. Final Judgment doesn't quite kill Variety, but it certainly puts him in kill threshold as Aror will claim another one. 5-0 and 5. The last hitting support doing pretty well for himself.
Yeah, Variety's really good, but not getting out of that one. I mean, that's just a tough spot that my man ended up in, and Minotaur is going to continue their assault onto the Juggernaut jungle. PolarBearMike wants to try and defend with the taunt, but there's too many around. Hurriwind now here in support does land the Roosh. They'll get some follow-up damage, but Aror is a tanky Cerberus at this point. I think he does not care for your damage.
Level 9. I mean, he's really, really tanky just based on base stats alone at this stage. Remember last game, PBM went for that upgraded Sunder with this Athena. This time he went for the upgraded Shell right away. And you saw him use that in lane a couple times, try and stand in front of Snoopy and body block the auto attacks. The real one you have to worry about is whenever Snoopy empowers his auto attack with that first ability. You have a much better chance to stop his wave clear in its tracks by absorbing that damage and preventing it from going through the wave. So good try by PBM, but Snoopy didn't really seem to mind too much in lane. And now it'll still be good. I mean, against the Freya, now the team fights are here as well as against CaptainTwig, but still feel like maybe that Sunder could come in handy up against Deathwalker in the later stages. Could still pick it up once he hits level 12.
We'll see if that's going to be the path he wants to go. The path Venenu walks will have to be a slightly more careful one, as his beads were forced out that middle lane. PolarBearMike continues to be aggressive, even though they're behind at this point in the game, down about 6,000 gold, and that did net him the beads of the opposing mid laner. 70, or really 8,000 experience. That's the one that feels really rough at this point here, Ryan. I mean, it's about 2 levels or so everywhere down the board. When you look at they're going up against the direct lane opponents, and Minotaurs are not letting up on the pressure. It
was just 3 levels a moment ago on the right side of the map for Deathwalker and Twig over Variety and Scream. That's where this has really been rough for the Minotaurs so far.
Snoopy happily taking the 2v1, or 1v2 rather, because he realized Twig is here in support. Hurriwind, though, has been, I feel like, very loose with these World Weavers in the best way.
Yeah.
He's constantly putting them out to try and deter the aggression when he feels that there's a chance to punish Snoopy and force out his ultimate. I think he's been great with them out of the mid lane for this Neath. Even though there hasn't been much else from him, he's been good with the ult.
That's how you play Neath, man. You gotta be firing those World Weavers off as often as possible.
Gold Fury now being looked at, though. It's down to about half health, but Juggernaut are here to try and defend. Remember, Venenu does not have beats. Got to be careful of positioning, and Deathwalker goes in forward. Hurriwind removed by CaptainTwig. Final Judgment there if needed. Variety has Defender of Olympus. He drops the ult. He wants to barrel in forward, but Snoopy, up above it all, drops down the Valkyrie's discretion, and Variety falls.
Scream down to 1 health. Great ring toss from CaptainTwig. Secures that one. Just the dual lane of the Juggernauts left alive. The Minotaurs clean house by this Gold Fury. And Snoopy's doing a ton of everyone's doing a ton of damage. Take your pick right now on who for the Minotaurs is doing the most.
And this is exactly what Minotaurs wanted, right? They pull that Gold Fury, they force Juggernauts into a fight. It's very unlikely that they win considering the deficit they're facing. They cleanly get off the Gold Fury. Deathwalker absorbs, it feels like, everything, and then returns just as much. And now they're able to grab a tier 1 tower and the Gold Fury, and even Pyromancer as they group around this objective too.
Maybe could have even gone for fire in this spot. I mean, they've got a lot of damage right now. It's just the Deathwalker is so low that even the little the boulders that come down from Fire Giant as he's spreading it through the team probably would have put him pretty close to death. So that's why I think we see the Minotaurs go for Pyromancer in that spot, but they're in complete control now. Scream has really been shut down so far. He's only level 10. Auror's level 12. I mean, that is a really rough spot now for the Juggernauts to be in, basically across the board. No one is really able to do the damage necessary. Variety has a ton of player damage right now, but that's because it's hitting everyone. But it's not really, you can't really feel that damage at this point. It's already a little bit too late for that. Hurriwind doesn't even have a 3rd item done, whereas Venenu's already working towards his 4th. Snoopy skipped out on finishing boots and instead went for the Polynomicon right away. Some extra mana, which synergizes perfectly with Book of Thoth, and that big burst of damage. Now, if you thought his 1-2 combo was doing a lot before, well, he has a real chance to one-shot Arkkyl now.
Yeah, we've already seen him just chunk earlier on in this game, so it's only going to be getting worse for the side of Juggernaughts. But you were talking about variety and his damage. We've seen the plan kind of come through, right? It's Defender of Olympus onto the Zhang Kui. He drops the ult and just walks at everyone, but it's repeatedly come just too late in the fight. Minotaurs are fighting on their terms. By the time Juggernauts can try and execute their plan, it's too little too late. The rest of the team is too low to follow up as they grab the tier 2, and now Arkkyl getting blown up by Snoopy.
Half his health off of that polyproc from off the banish. Everything involved is a guaranteed half health there on Arkkyl. A couple of the auto attacks would have put him in range for Valkyrie's discretion pretty easily. And that's before Snoopy has any pen. Remember, he doesn't even have his pen boots yet, so it's not getting any better for you.
Absolutely not. This tier 1 tower in left should fall down rather quickly for Minotaurs here on the left-hand side. They're up 10,000 gold now. This is starting to get to that danger territory where it's pretty tough to try and climb back into it. They want to keep pushing for the tier 2 as well. For me, I want to ask you about this Ao Kuang though, Ryan. I mean, I feel like they haven't gotten anything out of this one in the jungle. Is it just because of the pick or because Minotaurs got ahead too early?
Twig got an early lead, and that's really where it's happened. But Scream has not been able to secure any of his right side. They lost pressure in mid and right. Every lane is kind of lost right now for Juggernauts.
Aror diving and again in the last hit onto Arkkyl to bring him down. Here's Defender of Olympus onto Variety for the engage, but the paralyzing spits right there. Hurriwind does get a nice root, but Stygian Torment gonna bring everyone right back to the party. Raises them up into the air. Snoopy's here to provide the much needed damage. Variety still alive for now, but Deathwalker eventually hunts him down and is going to remove his life. Scream invisible, but he de-cloaks in the wrong spot. Deathwalker right here waiting for him.
That vent anger damage that's pulsing out is what revealed Scream. Twig blinks in and gets himself an easy cleanup kill there. Hurriwind has to beads away that banish and then gets absolutely popped by Snoopy once he hits the ground. Minotaurs is running all over the Juggernauts here in game 2.
Yeah, these games have both been a little one-sided here, haven't they? It felt like game 1 got away from Minotaurs pretty early on with the Khepri Ares, and now this game with the reversal, this Snoopy Aror duo lane has really been a problem for Juggernauts this time. And both games kind of gotten out of control. I mean, I'm not too surprised by it. These are the best of the best here, Ryan. And when something works for them, it's really gonna work, I feel.
Yeah, that's fair. And this is this is our first time getting a chance to see the new Naja passive, the new Freya. Yeah, I think they're both pretty good. I don't know. I think they...
Jury might still be out, right?
Yeah, jury's still out, I suppose, but I think they might be good gods to play in competitive Smite.
Yeah, Minotaurs really did get an excellent draft all around, I feel like, though. I mean, Venenu's been excellent on this Thoth. Deathwalker on Kumbhakarna is one of the easiest picks you can make. I mean, and Aurora's been playing this Cerberus excellently here so far, so Minotaurs really played to their draft. Juggernauts, on the other hand, really wanted to try and get some early aggression, I feel like, and then have Variety and Ao Kuang sort of like mid-game if they need them, and then really Zhang in late, and that never really got off the ground.
No, it really didn't, and now the Juggernauts just have to wait until the Minotaur starts sieging on the Phoenixes, and maybe at that point you've got at least a little bit of something going towards you, because they still, despite Freya's changes, she's still not great at knocking down towers, so you at least have something going in your favor where the sieges should take a little bit longer for the Minotaurs, but at this point the Minotaurs don't really have to worry about killing the structure, they just kill you instead, and then they get the structures after that without a care in the world. So we will see what the Juggernauts have in store, but I'll bet you they're thinking about the Game 3 draft right about now. Because Snoopy, by the way, after all that, he gets 2 Tier 2 towers, a Gold Fury, a Fire Giant. All this gold still hasn't backed yet, so he's going to be able to finish boots and likely a full item after that.
Things are definitely getting scary if you're on the side of the Juggernauts here. We were talking earlier about if PolarBearMike would go with that Sundering Spear, and he certainly did. He's got that one picked up for himself on the Athena, and I believe we saw Snoopy go into the Ob Shard after finishing off the boots as well, so definitely some strong items coming out here very recently for this team, but not just the Ob Shard, even the Lost Artifact. I mean, Snoopy's in a good spot. Man, he just spent a ton of gold, like 700 for boots, 2150 for Ob Shard, 550 for Lost Artifact, and then a full set of wards as well. So he basically just spent a ton of gold and got that much stronger after that last fight. Venenu finished off Soul Reaver. I mean,
there's a lot that's going wrong now for the Juggernauts.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be in this fight because maybe you do slow down Snoopy, right? You get him to leave the fight. Well, then Venenu is just waiting with Soul Reaver, Spear of Desolation to just kind of blow down the front door. I mean, it's not going to be easy for Juggernauts to defend, especially with this sort of build path Scream has taken here. There's not going to be time for him to kind of hang out on the back, I feel like, for any of these carries. No,
and with the Mana Grip as well. Variety stunned and basically dead as soon as he hits the ground. A 4-man knockup from Deathwalker. Hurry is low, then obliterates another. Just an absolute bloodbath here for the Minotaurs.
Yeah, and this felt somewhat inevitable at this point here, as PolarBearMike the only one left standing. Minotaurs grab the Phoenix, and that should be the only one they'll need. They'll go grab the Titan. I believe this is a little bit faster than Juggernauts. I think they were about 21:30, I think, yep. And so Minotaurs could do it at 20, but no, they want to come get the other Phoenix. I'm a little surprised by this.
They were trying to kill
so
Mike.
They thought they saw PolarBearMike come back in.
Yeah,
okay.
They were trying to kill Mike in that spot. Instead, decide they'll just end the game. The mercy decided upon by the Juggernauts at this, or for the Juggernauts at this point.
Right before that 21-minute mark too. They knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
20:59. They got
slide in right under the 21-minute mark.
A little bit faster, but I'm not too surprised by the swingy nature of this. I maybe a little bit that these sides haven't been able to make adjustments mid-game. It looks like it's going to be on a game-to-game basis perhaps instead.
Right.
So that's kind of got some questions for me. They did allow though Juggernauts, I feel like, to draft or just about everything they wanted, or rather Minotaurs, I mean, just about everything they wanted.
Yeah.
They got to do a little bit better in Pix Advanced game.
The Cerberus Freya combo was too much. I don't think we'll see Freya again in this set.
Right.
Maybe even the rest of the week, or the rest of the day, I suppose, because we're only doing it's all on today. I think that we'll see a lot of Freya bans moving forward. The Naja was certainly great for CaptainTwig as well, but Snoopy's lane control alongside Aror, I mean, Aror got 1 million kills in that game, got the early double kill, and was able to control the game very easily after that.
And as strong as the picks for Minotaurs were, I think it was the weak picks for Juggernaut that hurt them as well. The Neath in middle lane was able to get bullied very easily, I feel like, by Twig on the Naja. Not just that, but the Ao Kuang, even when he was invisible, when they couldn't see him, there was so much AoE. He was getting splash damaged all the time, getting revealed and punished. Those picks never really got a chance to get started.
And again, Variety does a ton of damage, but lost a ton of blue buffs, a ton of right side jungle. That means that Scream can't farm it. That means that you're not going to be able to get that Ao Kuang towards the late game.
Right.
I really feel like you usually want to pair that Ao Kuang with pressure mid. Neath can fit that, and then pressure solo. And Zhonghui just doesn't really fit that right now.
Well, who was your MVP there from Game 1? Or Game 2? Just like with Game 1, though, I think there's a ton of people that you could vote for. Snoopy and Twig come to mind, but Aror had some excellent play as well on that Cerberus. That really, I feel like, was the early game sort of nail in the coffin. That extra little bit of control, that extra damage that they just didn't have an answer to.
I completely agree with you. I think Aror was a huge part of this victory here for the Minotaurs. I mean, Venenu had a great game on the Thoth as well. It's easy when you get a massive lead like that for everyone to look good, but especially in an all-star event, you expect everyone to have great performances in a game like that, and certainly the Minotaurs did.
Yeah, it's tough. Venenu felt like he just did his job. He did it very well, right?
Yeah.
But so certainly don't want to not give my man some credit, but excellent play from both teams. We're going to have a Game 3. This has not been easy for either team so far. We're about to get that decider match, but first, let's get it back to the desk so they can break it down.
Thanks a lot, homies. Aggro and Finch. Aggro kind of nailed it there, I think, Taco, where Freya and Naja did the thing.
Freya and Naja were absolutely destroying in a lot of those latter parts of the team fights. I mean, I think things just really disintegrated for Juggernauts right around that initial Gold Fury pulling. That was kind of the moment for me, at least, where I looked at the match and it just felt so heavily one-sided in Minotaur's favor. They just could not really seem to handle a lot of the burst damage that was coming out of this Freya, and then the second that you started thinking that you had the Freya under control, all of a sudden you have to worry about Twig on the Naja, just ripping straight through your backline, and it just felt almost impossible for Juggernauts to really have a moment to breathe even. They were just constantly smothered by pressure, constantly smothered by buff invades, and it overall just prevented them from having that recovery period.
Yeah, PolarBearMike and Hurriwind don't really seem thrilled after Game 2. You know, Game 1 they came in and they obviously won because I think they were playing a different game than the Minotaurs. And then Game 2, the Minotaurs show up with the same, you know, level of mentality towards the set. And I think it was 20-4, 8 minutes before.
picking a little bit more conventional did wonders for the team. I would definitely have to agree on that. But what really impressed me throughout that match was just watching the synergy between Twig, Aror, and Venenu. They all just felt so on par with each other there.
Well, one of those players is going to be the MVP. It's Aror. And while we will celebrate Aror... I'm sorry.
I forgot they did that.
I forgot. So this picture is even funnier. Oh, man.
He's the Minotaur.
Yeah, no.
That's what it is.
Yeah, and so I remember specifically when they were doing this, you saw the walk-in shot as well with the Mulder. So I forget who it was. I think it was CaptainTwig explained the lore that all Minotaur's horns are different. And so every player on the team had to do a different sort of hand for antlers thing. So Aror had the 2 fingers, somebody else had the full arm, somebody had 4 fingers. It was interesting.
My only problem with this is that because it came from Twig, I can't tell if he's being sincere or just completely trolling.
The thing though with Aror specifically with that picture is, oh man, do you remember This Year Is My Year?
Oh man. That was my favorite because I actually had to do a This Year Is My Year. And
can we get a taco cam for the reenactment?
I would rather not.
I need to do too.
I'm gonna have to pass on that one.
There are new fans here for season 5 that are not aware. So we did a promo once where a bunch of the pro players, and Taco was a pro sub at the time, and they had to say This Year Is My Year, but they had to do it dramatically. So give us a reenactment of what that promo looked like. I don't have the jersey.
I cannot complete this.
Well, they're setting you up for it, champ.
This year is my year. That's what we all did the entire time.
Aror
had the best one by far. He took it to a whole different level. Honestly, I wish we could do an instant replay.
Yeah, there's no way production has that available. But all the players were like, really? This is kind of corny and like just like, this year is my year. And then Aror comes out and he goes, this year is my year. And like that picture of him in the corner looked just like he was doing it. And I just can't handle Aror most of the time. I mean, honestly, jeez. We had him on the cast yesterday. That was Aror on the cast.